We need to talk about Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave because it's been too long. It's been a few days since the Nintendo Direct. We've got a bunch of information, but I think it was a good thing because a lot of new information has dropped about Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. We've got a bunch of new screenshots and stuff to look at. We've got the updated trailer that dropped at the Nintendo Direct, and it's a little bit better quality at this point. So there's a lot of good stuff to get into, and we've got the first details on how Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is selling, and a little bit of a rant from me when it comes to the pricing situation that we find ourselves with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random, and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. So Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave will launch officially for the Nintendo Switch 2 on September 17th for $69.99 digitally and $79.99 physically, which we're going to talk about that in just a bit. So we will circle back to that and the things that people are doing to circumvent stuff, but I've got to discuss that, but we will in just a bit. Publisher Nintendo and developer Intelligent Systems has announced, and I'm wondering if Koei Tecmo is also on this one as well, so we'll probably find out. I think that they probably are. So a Dagdan Collection Special Edition will also be available for $119.99, which includes a steel book case, set of character art cards, map of Dagda, and a 200-page art book. That's actually not bad. I pre-ordered a special edition. I think I got 2 of them just in case one doesn't come through. So here's a bit more information overview on this game because it is massive. This does seem to be bigger than the base of Fire Emblem 3 Houses. So let's get into what they have to say here. So the heroic games are about to begin. Enter the Dagdan Empire, a prosperous land ruled by the gods, and compete in the heroic games for the chance to be granted one wish. Powerful fighters from across the land have gathered to participate, including 4 heroes whose fortunes are tied to the fate of the world. Play as Kai, a young boy determined to win the games to save his imprisoned father. Dietrich, a swordsman ever on the hunt for a stronger foe. Theodora, a queen seeking to fulfill the long-held dream of her homeland, and Leda, a musician with her sights set on revenge. The stories of these 4 heroes are key to this time-traveling saga of strength and steel. Time-traveling saga. Interesting, even just more right there. Guide your heroes to victory as each weaves their own tale. Prepare for each match of the heroic games by exploring Dagda and its capital city of Daggeson. Learn techniques and hone skills at the training grounds. Recruit allies and build bonds of friendship, and explore beyond Daggeson's walls to gain experience and strengthen your forces in a variety of ways. How you spend your free time is up to you, but the tactical matches of the games themselves will put your preparations to the test. Use everything you have at your disposal, including your hero's special abilities, to turn the tide of battle. Ready your forces. Between matches, you can explore the world to strengthen your army and find resources, train and recruit allies in Daggeson, or venture out into the land to fight bandits and monsters, delve through dungeons, and more. You have limited time to prepare, so make every action count. Lead your army into battle. Command your units in strategic, turn-based combat against the enemy. Use everything in your arsenal to turn the tide, including your hero's special abilities. By learning the strengths and weaknesses of your units and directing them wisely, you just might gain the upper hand. So this game pretty much sets up the structure like Fire Emblem 3 Houses. You do have a calendar system, you do have different activities you can do to strengthen, you can go out into dungeons, but you didn't have it to where you can kind of like move around freely and get treasure chests and explore and operate in that type of way with your character control. This reminds me kind of like the Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia when they remade that game for the Nintendo 3DS and you had extra dungeons and places that you can walk on foot. Looks like they're going to be bringing that back. Fire Emblem 3 Houses has nothing like that. When you get into an area, it's essentially the fighting for the map. You do not have places where you can freely roam around, in combat and get different quests and different stuff in that type of way. You can just roam around like the monastery or like your area and you can go around that way, but you don't have different dungeons that you can explore. So this has definitely been upgraded in that type of way because you have those dungeons, exploring that, plus the combat within there as well. This seems to be far more advanced when it comes to what you can do, and also they do say limited time, but I do think that there will be ways, just like Fire Emblem Three Houses, to where you can do multiple things in a day, to where you can feel like you had a lot of different things that you accomplished in that day. So I am incredibly excited for this game. It drops on September 17th, and September 17th, very good release window for this game. There's not too much when it comes to Nintendo first party stuff. They're kind of setting it up like one game per a month, but September is loaded when it comes to other games. There are so many games dropping in September because they're all trying to avoid Grand Theft Auto 6. So very packed month. Trails in the Sky second chapter also drops on September 17th. So even for just RPG fans, September seems to be just loaded with great games. But I want to talk about just a couple of different things here. Let's discuss the pricing situation with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, because the game has now done a little bit something different that we haven't seen since Mario Kart World, but with Nintendo's new pricing structure, which helps us alleviate things a bit. I think it's incredibly frustrating and it's bad for optics. I think that's the biggest thing optics wise, that Nintendo has Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave for $80. Now, is the game going to give you $80 worth of content? Sure, of course it is. Physical, $80, but obviously they have the digital for $70 and you can just get that. Now, some people don't like digital, and thankfully Walmart and Amazon are coming through. And if you pre-order the game, so if you buy the game before the launch day, you can get the physical version for $70 on Amazon and on Walmart. They are all matching up with the same price there. I have heard that if you go to Best Buy or if you go to Target and you show them the prices for Walmart and for Amazon, you can price match at other places too, but that might vary depending on the store. But what I do know, confirmed on Amazon and on Walmart, it is $70 for the game, matching the digital pricing. So that's awesome, but everybody might not have the money to buy it or might want to buy it later, so you're not going to get that price if you want it physical. Obviously digital, you'll get it for the $70. And once again, I don't like that. I think optics wise it looks bad. It looks like Nintendo did raise the price when it comes to physical games. The only problem is that games like Mario Kart World are still $80 physical and $80 digital, so they did technically lower the price if they were still planning on having $80 games, because they never said that they would not, but they have that digital option there that is $70, and we do have physical retailers like Walmart and Amazon matching that, but once again, optics wise, it does not look good. I don't like it. I said it on the Spawncast. I'm not going to advocate for that here. But I did pick up the physical special edition, so I will be playing the heck out of that. And I'll probably pick up a digital edition because I like to have Fire Emblem games digital, because I like to play them maybe on like my portable Switch 2. Then like I like to capture footage in like my other room to where I can capture footage. So it's one of those things to where I like to have just a digital version. It makes it easier for me when it comes to recording, capturing this game, and all the stuff that I'm going to have to do when it comes to gameplay and all of that, so I can do a review on it. So it's one of those things to where I think it's just frustrating. Obviously, everything's more expensive, and I don't like what's going on with it. But I do feel that if you do want to pick it up, make sure you get it from Amazon or Walmart so you can get that deal on it to where they match the digital that Nintendo has. Okay, let's talk about what's going on Amazon. Let's talk about the sales, because things are looking actually quite good for Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave already. If you look at the Amazon bestsellers, in the top 10, both versions, with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, the physical version, in at number 10, and Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, the special edition, in at number 9. So if you combine them together, it's definitely higher on the list here. So people are absolutely excited for Fire Emblem. It's one of those games to where you don't get Fire Emblem in terms of the big major Fire Emblem games often, but when you do get them, they are bangers. You know they're going to have some type of crazy epic story and tale that is just super fun to do. Fire Emblem Engage is more of an anniversary game, so I know people talk about that title, but it's more of an anniversary game. It's kind of like tongue-in-cheek for fun. This is the actual kind of like successor to what they did with Fire Emblem Three Houses, or like Fire Emblem Awakening or Fates, games like that. So this is the one to get super excited about and pick up. Fire Emblem Three Houses sold around 4 to 5 million units, plus we know that it's over 4 million units, probably more towards 5 million units, so it's easily, by far, it's one of the best selling strategy RPGs out there, and obviously the best selling Fire Emblem game of all time. So I fully expect Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave to do really well, and with the physical pricing, I do think that digital sales will probably be heightened for people out there, especially post-launch, if they decide to pick up the game later down the line. But of course, there'll be used copies like Fire Emblem Three Houses and all of that, so if you want to pick it up later down the road, you can. But I do think that it's going to be worth, when it comes to the gameplay and content shown off here, it's going to be worth every penny. I think this is going to be a phenomenal game, and I think it's going to review incredibly high. They've fixed a lot of the issues that I feel that Fire Emblem Three Houses had, and a lot of it was kind of technical. Anytime that you did a special move in the game, there was some slowdown, some frame rate drops, there was some long loading times when it comes to certain things. I think that with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave and the Nintendo Switch 2 and Intelligent Systems picking up a lot of experience working on the system with Engage, in addition to Three Houses, I think that from a technical perspective, from what I've seen, this is going to be a technically sound, good running game that probably isn't going to have some of those tech issues that Fire Emblem Three Houses had. And visually speaking, it is a big bump up from what we saw from Fire Emblem Three Houses and Fire Emblem Engage. Art style looks really good, character models look very clean, environments not the most detailed from the screenshots and everything that I'm seeing, but still a good, I would say, clean look that definitely was better than what we saw in Fire Emblem Three Houses, which just looked really rough at times. So they've definitely bumped things up presentation wise quite a bit, and I cannot wait to delve more into this game. And I have to mention the audio. From what we've heard so far, and it's just a little from the trailers that we've gotten, I think the music is going to be absolutely majestic. It is going to be divine when it comes to there. You know how Fire Emblem gets down with music. Fire Emblem has some of the best music in the industry. I love Fire Emblem Fates, and I love Fire Emblem Three Houses. They had some banger tracks, so I think this is no exception. We are going to get a great soundtrack here, and I cannot wait to hear more on the soundtrack and the music in this game because it's already sounding incredible. Now, I do want to talk about the potential reception of it, because the last time that we saw the major Fire Emblem game like this was back in 2019, and that reviewed at an 89, so it was right there at a potential Game of the Year berth from the Game Awards. But unfortunately, we got Keeley'd when it comes down to it, and Death Stranding, in addition to Control, games that reviewed significantly lower, Fire Emblem Three Houses ultimately ended up winning the Player's Choice, as Fire Emblem fans threw hissy fits all over the internet, myself included. So what could happen with this one? Well, I think that this year is going to be packed. You have Wolverine, you have Grand Theft Auto, you have Soros, you have all these different games that have came out already and done pretty good. Pokemon Pocopia, that's one of the highest rated games. Resident Evil, that's also one of the higher rated games as well. Plus 007, that's a higher rated game. So there's a lot of good stuff that's going to be rated highly. It's hard to tell. There's not a clear front runner. Even indie games have done pretty well. Mina the Hollow. So if you look at the spread of different stuff, I think it's kind of reminding me of 2021 with games like Metroid Dread and Deathloop, It Takes Two. They were kind of all right next to each other when it comes to reviews, and ultimately It Takes Two won that one. So maybe we see a little bit with that here, but we can all be honest and realistic with ourselves here. It's going to be Grand Theft Auto. That's going to review the highest. That's going to get all the accolades and praise. It's pretty much going to be automatic at this point. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to review incredibly high, and it's going to win Game of the Year, and it's going to sell a ton of copies. But I will say this, for those who necessarily aren't into Grand Theft Auto, despite it seems like everybody's into Grand Theft Auto, there are definitely people who are not, and I think that Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave can review pretty well to get some consideration for Game of the Year, especially if it's a 90 plus. Fire Emblem Three Houses was so close, it was an 89, and there was a number of tech issues and graphic stuff. This one seems to be better, when it comes down to what they are doing. I think even story-wise, they can tell a better weaving tale here when it comes to the different characters. So I think that this time around, this could do better than what we saw with Three Houses. I think they've refined a lot of the systems based off of what they've shown here in that Nintendo Direct trailer. I think that it's got a good slot when it comes to when it's coming out. And once again, the tech issues, intelligent systems with the Nintendo Switch 2, just having access to far more power, I think is going to help them out quite a bit. But I'm not necessarily banking on that when it comes to the reviews. I'm not banking on them giving it something super crazy, but I do think that it's going to review pretty well. Most mainline big Fire Emblem games do review quite well. Mid to high 80s, if not 90s, like Fire Emblem Awakening. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how all of this shakes out. So what do you guys think when it comes to Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave and what they're doing from a visual, audio, technical standpoint and all of that? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.